Hi, thank you for having me here today. My name is Dr. Sae Schatz. I'm the director of the Advanced Distributed Learning Initiative. That's a Department of Defense program that does research and development, coordination, and policy associated with distributed learning. The total learning architecture is intended to be the connective tissue or the glue that combines all of the different training and education technologies together. More specifically, it's meant to be a modular open systems architecture, or like a big Lego block that allows all other training and education systems to plug into it so they can operate together in one lifelong learning continuum. More precisely, it's a series of application programming interfaces, data standards, and other kinds of architectural rules and specifications to make this work. And the ultimate vision is that no matter what technology you're using for training, education, or other kinds of learning management, it can all work as one big interconnected ecosystem. Adaptive instructional systems are absolutely critical. There is no way for any of us to keep pace with the extent and the sophistication of training and education and other kinds of upskilling and reskilling that we all have to do. So we need to optimize the way that learning happens so that people are getting the right training, education, learning and development, where they need it, when they need it, for their mission or their job or their tasks, at the point of need sometimes, and across their entire life. In other words, we need to have that low-level, highly specialized adaptive instructional systems, but also we need to be thinking about lifelong planning. There's a whole variety of things that we can do to optimize learning, although first, we have to be able to unlock the data to fuel these systems. So there's been a long history of study in adaptive instructional systems, usually at the micro or the macro adaptive level. So in other words, usually at the hint or like the problem step level, or maybe at the course level. Now we need to start looking at the longer term longitudinal level. How do you plan somebody's lifelong learning trajectory? How do you decide not what to give somebody today or tomorrow, but what kind of instruction or just-in-time support people need next week? I think there's a whole variety of questions that the total learning architecture is going to help elevate, and I think this community is really well poised to start to answer them. I think that the biggest challenge that we face within the AIS community is to have a sufficient amount of ethical, reliable, and valid data to fuel the machine learning necessary to get to the highest quality algorithms. This is particularly true in the lifelong learning context, where you're going to have a variety of different systems producing data, and if we're not careful, in a lot of different formats and different silos. That's the problem that the total learning architecture is meant to solve. We're trying to be able to unlock that data from across all the different systems so that we can start to fuel those most sophisticated machine learning AIS systems. I think that there is a lot of research that's needed in ingesting raw data and then using machine learning to produce recommendations, particularly at the, I'm going to call it, the meta-adaptive level. In other words, looking across multiple different systems, possibly owned by different companies or produced by different vendors, and looking at this larger scale planning and recommendations, potentially at a lifelong level, potentially at a just-in-time, point-of-need level, but being able to look outside of immediate, well-constrained learning sets and trying to make recommendations across them. And I think once you start to do that, once you're able to start to get outside of these individual learning technology silos, that's really going to help the adoption of AIS in a practical sense. I would like to see the consortium look at these meta-adaptive models. In other words, looking at the lifelong learning, looking at being able to ingest data from multiple different learning or development systems and then make decisions across them. I would love for the consortium to also look at how should AIS be integrated into the total learning architecture, not specifically as part of the TLA, but rather leveraging the data that are unlocked by the TLA. What will that art of the possible look like? I would really like to hear your thoughts about what might be feasible. If we want to get to this vision of a future learning ecosystem, where all different training and education systems are able to function together as a system of systems, the only way that will work is if we have standardized APIs, data formats, and other kinds of metadata. For example, metadata that describes the pedagogical experience so that you're able to get semantic coherency across multiple different systems if you're going to leverage them in conjunction with each other, or metadata about the learning analytics, the learner performance that comes out. It's absolutely critical to have that common big Lego block, or in other words, that shared Internet of Learning things, so that we're able to leverage that, get the data out, and truly start to have this lifelong adaptive learning experience. I think that the AIS Consortium is already doing a lot of highly meaningful investments. It's absolutely critical to make sure that we're leveraging adaptive learning effectively. It could be done poorly, and actually that could cause damage to people. It could be done unethically, and obviously exposing learners' data or otherwise making unethical decisions could be really incredibly damaging. And those are important areas that you're already investing in. One other area that might be of interest is to think about the cybersecurity of the situation too. You could imagine situations where bad actors may try to poison the learning data set, and in this case I mean the machine learning data set, or otherwise try to skew the results, whether intentionally or unintentionally, that then causes bad downstream outcomes. I think we really need to be careful about how that works. And then for a military context, like where I come from, we also need to be thinking about how do we protect those data in a way that makes sure that they are not being used by adversaries to gain some sort of inappropriate intelligence about our forces. If you're interested in learning more about the total learning architecture or any of the work that we're doing at the ADL initiative, visit our website at www.adlnet.gov. Almost all of our work is open source on our GitHub page, or otherwise open architecture, open access through our published studies or our open APIs. So you can actively participate, and we encourage you to come, download the source code, join our working groups, and help us build this vision of a future learning ecosystem.